Maybe I'll do that next council meeting, just get it.
That would be
Walk out
fun.
right before she's gonna start.
Do it. Good afternoon, it's 3:30, and this is the Employee and Community Relations Committee meeting. Can we do the roll call?
Kurt,
Present?
Poppelmeyer,
Yes.
Son,
Yes. Oh, okay, this is a new committee that's been established. I've been appointed for the chair for this, so our goal is to have employee and community relations reviews that, to make recommendations for the employees, for citizens. It's going to be a way for us to gather more information, hopefully, from the employees and for the residents, and hopefully we make a better city going forward, more trust, I hope we get. And I have a few things that I would like to get going with. First thing I want to discuss is the wage, we're doing a wage audit to see what our wages are compared to other cities, whether we're too low, too high, type of thing. Anybody have any comments or questions?
Sounds like a plan.
I mean, other cities are saying like Toledo wouldn't make sense to
No,
compare us to
like
Toledo.
Perrysburg,
Yeah,
just
other
smaller cities in roughly
10,
our
15,
size. Yeah.
20,000.
Yeah, it wouldn't make any sense to do Toledo because there's 100,000 people there.
And that's where we got this consultation report from, a sample.
Yes, we did get Chelsea gave it, there's a report from Perrysburg, I believe this was, a study on their wages and their, like, employee title stuff, so this is something we can look into and see how it works with ours. I just received this afternoon, so I really haven't had a whole lot of time to look at it.
Okay.
Does it come from the various municipalities? Does it come from the Ohio Auditor?
Do you want me to
Huh?
finish this? Do you want me to talk?
Yes, if you would. Seeing I just got this.
Please state your name and address.
Last year, Perrysburg did a wage study for both their non-bargaining units employees and their bargaining unit employees. The copy that you have is for their bargaining units. They still haven't received the full report for the non-bargaining, but what they do, they go through, they have everybody fill out a questionnaire that describes what their job duties are. They do look at peer cities, so cities that are similar in size and budget and employee size to the city that they're studying. And then they make recommendations based on that. For Perrysburg's, they ended up rewriting almost their whole personnel ordinance to make it just easier to understand, easier to follow. We found that that's can be troublesome right now. Some of the language can get pretty confusing. But basically what they do is they say, here's where you are at compared to all the other cities that we consider your peers. They've done Perrysburg, they've done Bowling Green, I think they've done Akron, so they're pretty familiar with the area. But it's a great way to take a look. They did two separate ones, one for the bargaining unit, one for non-bargaining. They were both right around $13,000 to $15,000. So they spent about $30,000 total over, I think they did it several months apart. But the idea is to make sure that everybody is where they are supposed to be.
Okay, great, thank you.
Anything else? Anybody? Have any questions for Chelsea? All right, second then would be to discuss practices for engaging citizens. I have, Nancy has brought to my attention something that the city is working on. It's called the Click View Overview.
Sure. So this software is called C-Click Fix, and it's something that we're going to be initiating as part of the website through Civic Plus, but it's one of the first things we're going to be launching. So we're in the process of getting it up and running. The way it's going to work is we want to make it as easy as possible for residents to be able to let us know if they see something. So if they're out walking their dog and they see a bunch of couches out, they can snap a picture of it, they can upload it into the C-Click Fix system, and then we'll know where they are, but they fill out some information, and then it will go into our system, and then we'll be able to follow it. That's what we're working on now is the workflow. So depending on what the complaint is, will depend on where it goes. And then we'll have a certain number of time, like maybe a couple weeks, before we close it out or we continue it. It just depends on the situation. So right now, we're working on figuring out the workflow, and then we'll go through some training, and then we'll do some testing, and then we'll launch it.
And this will be something they can access from the website, from the new website.
And an app on their phone.
Oh,
And they won't be able to report anonymously, but they can report one of two ways. They can either create an account, and then they can follow it through the whole system and get regular updates, or they can just report it as a guest. So they still put their name in, but then they don't see any more with it.
I would think somebody might be reluctant to report their next-door neighbor whose garbage cans are all over the alley and so forth. Can they do that without?
Having it
Neighbor-
show on the actual page,
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes,
think
they
so.
can. Yeah.
So I've used this in Toledo.
Okay,
Obviously, I have my student rental houses around UT.
okay,
And so I've used it to report major potholes, like cars that haven't moved in 6 months, things like that. And I want to say that you can say who you are, or you can like not say who you are, so you don't come up in the report,
okay.
from what I remember.
Well, and that's a setting issue. You can set it to be anonymous. We were not going to allow people to be anonymous, and maybe that's something we need to look at, only because that can also open the door to having people, who knows, post whatever. So, but it's possible. Maybe we'll go back, and if we think that that's a better way, so that people do feel more safe if they aren't comfortable putting their name. So, yep. Got it?
What's the timeline?
So we have, the next training we have is in a couple weeks, and then we'll start bringing the staff in. So I don't want to say a for sure hardline date, but it's in the process, so, maybe another month or two, month and a half.
Thank you.
Sure.
B, we're exploring hiring more employees for the service department, and I've talked to Matt about it a little bit. I've just talked to Jennifer a little bit about it, and then, again, with our new HR. Anybody, you want to say anything, Matt, what we've discussed?
Sure. So I guess our biggest, well, we have lots of voids, but one of our bigger voids is like the mowing contract is something that we've been kind of going back and forth on, trying to figure out what makes the most sense as far as taking back the properties that the city's responsible for maintaining. I've been working with Rick Gray and Troy from the service department, and we're trying to divvy up the list of properties. It's quite substantial, and use the prices that we acquired last year, that we paid last year for the property to see how much we can cut that budget down. But obviously, more work would require more employees. So we're trying to find that balance and see how we can make that work. I know I've already talked with Troy, and he just let me know that, his guys are getting excited about it. They're starting to get all the mowing equipment that we haven't really used in years tuned up and ready to go, so that they can start, as soon as the weather breaks, getting out and doing the things that need to happen. But like I said, obviously, more work will require more workers.
Right.
So the more we take on, the more we're going to have to supplement with more employees. So
And I just found out today that we're hiring or posting for 3 operators.
we are.
Sewer division.
Yes, 2 for the sewer, 1 for service. That was something
Okay.
that we had already kind of discussed at the end of last year, going into this year. I don't know. We don't really know what the challenges will be yet, because it's been a while since we've taken on that much mowing and maintenance for, the properties that have been maintained by other companies over the last 4 years. So I don't know at what point we need to start adding the staff. I think, talking with Troy, he's willing to start out and see how it goes. So I don't know if this year makes sense as a trial and error year, but I don't want to get behind
Right.
to the fact that we've taken on too much and we can't fulfill it, where we have to start, paying overtime, and that just doesn't seem to make sense to me either, so.
I know we both talked about possibly hiring some laborers.
Yes.
Something we haven't had for 5 years, to help offset some of the cost of not being an operator,
Right.
so.
Well, and also, I think it's worth looking at, college help, part-time
Yeah.
seasonal help that we can bring in at a lower rate, and they can, obviously they'll have to be supervised by our other staff, but it's good experience for them as well as cheap labor for us.
Right.
And I would like to implement that back into how we operate, at least on a seasonal basis. It gives us, more hands on deck, so.
Now, I don't remember, and if we even have records on when we had the college kids, if they were under the rec program or if they were just hired like as a laborer.
Talking with Troy, he kind of made it sound, well, it would have been prior to the previous administrator, so it would have been Joe Camp. So I think everything, he had contacts with the schools, and everything kind of ran through him, which I wouldn't have a problem doing, but I think our new HR manager obviously would be able to help with that as well. At least making those contacts and trying to get people in, hopefully, if she's willing.
I'll do whatever I'm asked to do.
So do we have any existing contracts we need to get out of if we're taking this on?
No. So the way that the mowing contracts were set up, we did one in 2022. It was a 2-year with a chance to renew. And then we did another one in 2024. Also a 2-year with a chance to renew. This one, I would like to make it a 1-year, so that we can kind of see how this year goes. I don't see the point in doing any longer than that, just because we don't really know what to expect, as far as outside sources and what our needs will be until we can figure out what we can do internally. So that's going to be the plan. I do need to get a proposal out to the public so that we can get bids. Ideally, I'd like to have that done like by now, but we, just trying to work on that list and see what we can carve out and what we should still have subbed out to contractors. So obviously the growing season's going to start sooner than we all anticipate. It seems like every year the mowing season grows and grows and grows. I think last year we planned on 30 weekly mowings, and we ended up with about 32 weekly mowings on average. So it just kind of depends on the weather. It was a very early spring last year. So I think we were starting the mowing program in mid to late March, if not the first week of April. So it's, we're at the mercy of Mother Nature, so.
Did we use a mowing contractor to do like the big areas on the trail where we've had to use the flail mowers and stuff like that?
We did. So since 2022, the Anthony Wayne Trail right-of-way corridor has been maintained by a mowing contractor. We had a little bit of a break because of the project that was going on. So it was under their purview to maintain any of the zones that were currently under construction. So it was kind of hard to plan around that, but with the contractor we were using, he was able to kind of keep tabs on what he was mowing and like report back to us. But now obviously there's no project going on, so
Right. Do we still have that the big equipment?
we do.
We do.
The problem is there's a lot of obstacles in the way now. You haven't noticed? So being able to use those big mowers is not really an option on the trail, so.
There are some areas still left that we could use the big mowers, but there's a
Absolutely.
majority that barely will do a push mower.
Yes. So the idea is that we will take all the parks back because they're wide open fields, and Troy feels confident that his guys are able to accomplish that. We've talked about utilizing contractors for the Anthony Wayne Trail corridor still, just because of all the mowing obstacles and having to go around all the trees. That's what I meant by obstacles, in case nobody caught that. But, you know, we don't have as far as I know, we don't have the mowers that are capable of being efficient around all the trees, which the mowing contractor did. He had the ability to, you know, it was similar to a flail mower, but he's able to lift up the two sides and go around things and get a lot closer. It would require, you know, more staff on our end and obviously new equipment. So I would like to not venture down that path just yet, just to see, like I said, I feel like this will be a good trial period to see what we can accomplish and what we can't accomplish. So going into 27, we'll have a much better idea of what our crews are capable of.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any questions?
So I guess this might be a combination personnel and building, land, parks question. But since we don't have the equipment for the really narrow parts on the trail and the trees and stuff like that, could we look at reconfiguring that somehow and taking the grass out of the equation by doing flowers or native grasses or something like that, that would be much less of a pain in the rear end for us
Yeah.
to handle?
We can certainly look at it. I mean, obviously, plantings is going to cost money too. So it's just a matter of if we can find the right sort of vegetation that doesn't require a lot of maintenance, then yeah, I'm all
Right.
for it.
On the trail down by the zoo, I think it's been removed now, but for a time, in the median there, they had some kind of a ground cover or something that.
It was a prairie. They just let prairie grow.
Prairie grass?
Yeah, just it was like completely wild and it was awesome.
Yeah,
then
and you didn't
said
have
he went,
to cut it.
"Brrr," just
Yeah.
took it out. It was great. But, I mean, maybe not to that effect, but yes,
Right.
something like that. And again, cost versus
Yeah.
Yeah.
planning versus
Right.
maintenance and stuff like that. But if that's something, I don't know who would want to start investigating that. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yes, right now it's included for an area at the Mingo Training Center, Monclova Park, and one other area, but we do have a good estimate for that right now.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, if there's maybe like a test period to see
Right.
what would make sense, I don't know.
So probably not for this year's budget, but definitely looking at 27.
Yeah, I
If
think-
things go well.
Yeah, and I think to Matt's point, you know, this is a transition period of seeing what our current staff can handle, and if we hire an additional laborer with some part-time individuals, what they can handle. And I can certainly attest to the fact that the guys are getting the lawnmowers and all that ready. I'm just like invoice after invoice after invoice. So yes, they have been very busy.
Yes.
It appears they're very excited about the possibility of taking this over. I just had a question about, you mentioned right now you're thinking of bringing back the parks in-house. Is there any other areas, or do you have a draft of your bid or your proposal that you're going to send out yet?
I have several versions of it, but nothing that's completely set in stone. I haven't had a chance to sit down this week, so I'm hoping to next week get that compiled. I would like to meet with you so we can kind of see, where the savings will be from a cost standpoint, and also, I still have a lot of talking to do with some of the other departments. We have a lot of water and sewer pump stations that have always used to be maintained by those departments, and if we're able to add additional staff back to sewer, maybe we can discuss having them start taking back those small sections. I mean, it's a low ticket item on the grand scheme of things for cost, because those small properties don't really cost that much to sub out, and it's more stops and more unloads and reloads. But if it's something that they can take back, it's definitely more things we can take off that list. So I'm gonna kind of propose it that way, with leaving those in and taking those out, and see what makes the most sense financially versus the staff.
Well, I think that those two divisions taking back their pump stations isn't going to be a big drain on their employees.
Right.
I mean, we did it with fewer employees than they have now. So I would like to see that, have a little bit more pride. When you said Monclova Park was going to be part of the Prairie, is that going to be like just a section of it, or?
Yeah, the initial proposal was in the back area. So it would save a little bit in mowing, obviously not upfront costs, but
So would that take
long-term.
away the little baseball diamond that's back there?
No, that wasn't the proposal. It was back by the tracks, if I remember the sketch.
There's a baseball
Yep.
diamond back by the track, is what I'm saying.
No, it wasn't. I'm looking
There's
at
a-
you, Josh. It wasn't
It's set,
covering, it wasn't replacing anything.
okay, because there's one sits back towards the residential part of the park.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right.
Just,
Yeah.
okay. What's supposed, yeah, what once was a baseball area, now it's grass.
Also a nice idea for a natural barrier for kids to not go by the tracks, so that makes sense.
Yeah. That makes sense. And then last, the hiring process of an administrator, I just received this today, so I guess we're going to be doing some more interviews. Chelsea? Madam Mayor?
Yeah, so we've been taking applications for this since about the end of November. We are getting to the point where we want to start bringing people in and getting interviews. We have all of the applications and cover letters in a shared folder that will be shared with all of you to be able to look over before the next meeting so that we can talk about it. What we'd like to do is start bringing in the candidates who've ranked highly to start interviewing, and then what I need the Personnel Committee and Council to do, we've talked about a lot. Scott, if you look up there too, Council President Sund, there is a potential administrator hiring process, which discusses bringing in the interviews, having the rubrics, bringing in staff, bringing in a few citizens, what is essentially an administrator selection committee. But we've had several different iterations proposed all last year as well. So I'd like to get something set in stone here pretty quick as we move forward. But that's where we're at. We are going to do one more round of recruitment just to see if anybody else wants to come in. It won't be open for as long as we had the other one, but everything expired out, I think, at the end of the year through IMCA and all those, or ICMA. So to do one last recruitment push, these packets will also go out to the current candidates as well as a questionnaire, asking them about their specific service and what they think about Maumee, so that when we get to the point when we start really bringing them in for interviews, that we have a pretty good rating system, we have an understanding, we know how many interviews we want to put them through, what citizen involvement you want, and what staff involvement you want. Otherwise, we're not going to hire an interview, or we're not going to hire someone for like 2 years, but we need a process so that we can move forward.
Any questions for Chelsea? Madam Mayor?
Any thoughts on a process, even?
I mean, yeah, figuring out who is going to be basically on the interview panel, first and foremost, who's listening, who's giving direct input right there and then. And then, and I guess we're new, so what place do we have as this committee in the input into the recommendation that we send to council in the end?
So that's something, like I said, I'll send that out so you can review the resumes and cover letters, but probably in the next council meeting, I would like to get something solidified in place just for the process, because the rest of it, all that really matters and what your committee does is, as a function of employee relations, is figuring out these processes, figuring out the policies as we go forward. So we'll have a recommendation for you to look at and say yes, no, this or that, but we need to get something started. I didn't know if you had any suggestions to begin with, what I was going to suggest. Like I said, we do the question packet, we figure out the top however many candidates, we get them in for the staff interview, we get them in for a selection committee interview, which could include some of the personnel committee and a couple of residents, and then have them do what they've done at other places, is they actually have them come to a council meeting and have essentially a public hearing for your last 2 candidates. But there's all sorts of options out there. We just need to get something in place.
I agree.
So if we could get something, some sort of recommendation, even at the end of this meeting, that we could take to council, that'd be great. Otherwise, I'll bring my own recommendation. We can go from there.
Nancy, is there a way we can put out on the city website to see if somebody, what citizens would be interested in being part of this panel? Yeah, let's go ahead and get that out there.
You can look through all of that, because there's going to be a bunch of them, and select the citizens you think would be good for it.
Yeah, 2 or 3.
Yeah, I would say 3 at the most. There's 3 of us.
Yeah.
3 residents. We don't want to be outnumbered.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts, new HR manager who's been here for 3 total days?
Technically, it's 4.
Oh, it is 4. It is 4. I can't keep my days straight.
I just agree with what Chelsea is stating, or the mayor's stating, when it comes down to the whole process. If you don't get on a process now, we will be sitting on this for a while. Resident input, I've been told, is very important, and the individuals that you select are very important in putting on that committee that you have interviewing that individual. So I would look for some good qualities in individuals and some of their backgrounds and their possibly previous history of work, of anything like that would be good too. And just making sure that you input the staff. The staff is the biggest part of that, of department heads and management going through that, of what they need on their side of things, because I think that's very important for their input to matter.
All right, sounds good. I agree.
So for the selection committee, how about we say the 3 of us on this committee here, 3 citizens and our mayor? So there's 7. An odd number.
Grand.
I like it.
So no tied votes. I agree with that.
And so
When-
we can make that recommendation to council, at least for the selection committee at the next meeting.
All right. We can do that. And then when it comes to staff, so how do we want to start figuring out who should have input on this? Obviously, department heads and division heads and things like that, but I guess that's where we would need some guidance on that.
I mean, of course, your finance director should be in on that. I don't know if Alan wants to participate, so he would be another one just because of the uppers, and then Matt as well. And then if you want to include fire, PD, you could as well if they wanted to participate.
Yeah, it'd be important to include either Josh and/or fire chief.
Brandon.
Can't remember. Brandon, thank you. Because the job is city administrator / safety director, so he would be Josh's boss and Brandon's boss, direct reports.
I imagine we'll have a series of interviews, because it is such a, a big position. And there's a lot of eyes on it. I would suggest that we do a couple of different internal interviews with leaders, and then a couple, we had talked about potentially having an employee committee, almost a mirror of what you guys are out here at the public, but employees within the city to help advise and talk about their voices as it relates to policies and procedures. Is to have an interview process with some of them as well. Then with the selection committee, and then the 2 finalists, or 1 finalist, if it comes down to it, can come and talk at a public meeting.
Okay. So leadership panel, employee panel for the first couple rounds, and then the selection committee of us, 3 citizens, mayor, and then final recommendation to council. Sound good?
Sounds like a winner.
Can I just ask a question? I'm not sure when I haven't looked at the job description in a while. Would it be worth taking a look at the job description?
The job
Prior to
description and
posting.
the administrator ordinance both, because some of those have been separated out as well, which is something that I was looking at. Maybe we can get those sent to you to review as well. There are some minor changes that need to be done. So I think that would be, we can bring some of that to the council meeting, but we can be sent to you to make some comments on in the meantime.
Cool.
And you can make that as a motion if you want to review the job description, administrator codified ordinance at the next council meeting. At some point, you guys actually will have to make the motion and vote on it. But I'm just letting you know. But that's kind of what I was thinking for the administrator hiring process. I'm hoping we can start really getting moving on it because it's been a minute. We'll probably do a 2-week posting for the last recruitment push because that'll coincide perfectly with the next council meeting. And then we can really, anybody who's after that, after those 2 weeks are done, anybody new we want to interview, we can go forward.
Should we then, like, for the citizen involvement, should we limit that to like 2 weeks also? Like, as long as it's.
Yeah, definitely limit it. Do not leave it open.
Oh, no.
But, so,
Probably because it'll have to go to council to be approved, yeah. And then by that time, you'll have another one of these meetings and you can select your people.
okay.
Yeah, we can definitely have another personnel meeting the week after our next council meeting to get this rolling here.
Well, remember, we're going to start with the internal ones first, so there'll be a little bit of extra time. And it's also government, which means that even though we might think this will take 2 weeks to a month, it'll probably be another 2 to 3. It's just how it works. I'm not sure with committees, it might be something that I have to make a recommendation on. I know I can make recommendations on committees, but I think you guys can make one too. I was like, what? Yeah. So you can just make that recommendation.
All
Any
right.
other thoughts on that?
So for now, we can officially make a motion to determine who the selection committee is, as well as the, called leadership panel of finance, law, services, fire, police.
Would you like to make that motion?
Let's do that. Okay. So I move that we recommend for the administrator selection committee, the 3 council members on this council, 3 citizens to be selected by this council and our mayor, as well as for the staff leadership panel of the finance director, law director, fire chief, police chief, and service director.
I'll second that.
Big roll call?
Kurt?
Yes,
Peppelmeyer?
Yes.
Son?
Yes.
What about the job?
All right. I also move to review the job description for our city administrator.
I'll second.
And the ordinance.
And the codified ordinance.
Kurt?
yes.
Peppelmeyer?
Yes.
Son?
Yes.
Anything else? From those that know more than me. All right. Anything else?
Anything else?
I have nothing else.
Do we want to recommend, I'm sorry, do we want to recommend a wage audit too, or no?
We get prices first?
Yeah, but yeah.
Yeah, you can, that's up to you if you want to recommend looking at.
I do have that included in the operating budget right now, just based on what Perrysburg.
Okay. So are we going to make a recommendation for both? Are we going to separate them or just do one big one? Are we going to separate the unionized and then the non-union?
You definitely want to do them separately.
Right.
It's just a matter of if you want to do them concurrently or, do one this year and do one next year.
Sure.
It'll just depend on how long it'll take. Our union, our collective bargaining is all up at the end of next year.
Right.
So there's no rush on the,
Do them both? I mean, are we Is it in the budget for both, or?
I budgeted the full amount, yes, for complete wage study.
Make the recommendation, we can get the price.
All right. So I'll move that we do we recommend the city doing a wage audit for both non-bargaining and bargaining units.
Do we want to specify which cities? I mean, we talked about Perrysburg and Bowling Green, but how many cities?
Well, that's what they do, right?
They'll make a
Yeah.
recommendation.
Okay.
For example, when they did Bowling Green, they actually specifically picked other cities in Ohio of that size that also were heavily based around university, with Perrysburg, with peer cities with similar population, budget, so they'll go through and make recommendations of where they think they should use as comparisons, and then go from there.
So we're
I
just,
think they pick like 10 or 12, that's a lot.
your motion is to implement the thing and let them worry about the,
Yep.
how to, yeah, I'll
Let the
second that. if
Let
no
the
one
experts
is.
do their thing.
Okay, Kurt,
Yes,
Peppermeyer,
Yes.
Son,
Yes.
All right. Next. Okay.
I think we've covered everything. We have a question.
hello, Sarah Iden, supervisor over at the Indoor Theater. In the employee relations area, as you're looking at wages, I would like to request you look at benefits packages. The current condition I am in, I found myself realizing there is no maternity or paternity policy within the city of Maumee. Research I've done shows that many municipalities or governmental agencies will do at least a percentage of pay for a certain amount of weeks for parental leave. So I would love to see the city look at that policy as well as return to work policies for parental leave. Thanks.
Noted, thank you.
Anybody else? Then I call to adjourn.
Second.
Kurt,
yes.
Peppermeyer,
Yes.
Son.
Yes.
Bang the gavel.
Don't touch that.